Chapter 6, Act 2. I tried not to gag as Ronnie dumped the vomit-filled bedpan into her red biohazardous waste bin. One look at Ronnie's job drove any thought of her being a celebrity from my mind. The gossip magazines definitely hadn't included pictures of rich, symmetrically featured people carting around trolleys of other people's waste products. After an uneventful checkup, which fortunately didn't involve needles, and registering my bioprint at the Citizenship Bureau, which unfortunately did, Ronnie decided it was time to show me her work. Turns out she did body fluid maintenance. I'd optimistically thought that meant she monitored IV lines in clinics or went around the city handing out water bottles. I was sadly mistaken. "You do this every day?" I watched in disgust as Ronnie pulled out another soiled bedpan from the next room's waste box. She flipped open the lid of the biohazardous waste bin with a foot pedal and dropped the bedpan inside. It landed on top of the others with a sickening splat. Was this to be my lot in life? Roaming around hospitals cleaning up puddles of sloppy excrement? "Relax, kid." Ronnie placed the last of her clean bedpans in the waste box before pulling down the airtight lid. "It's only for the next 18 weeks. It should have only been 16 weeks, but your entrance threw off my work cycle." The biohazardous waste bin at the front of the cart was now brimming with dirty bedpans. Ronnie pulled off her latex gloves and dropped them into a garbage sack hanging off the cart. Then she pushed the cart toward the maintenance ascender. "Here's how it works. Everyone who didn't graduate trade school is assigned to one of 4 rotation cycles. Every 4 months, everyone in the cycle gets to change jobs. During the last week of each rotation, we sign up for our next assignment. Every job that doesn't require a degree is up for grabs." "And the options were so bad you chose to cart around sewage?" I asked, incredulously. Together, we maneuvered the fetid cart into the ascender, and Ronnie pressed the button for the basement level. "I chose to make a lot of money," she corrected. "See, signing up for a job is kind of like a crapshoot, no pun intended. Everyone knows some low-skilled jobs rock while other jobs stink." She emphasized her last word by cracking open the lid of the waste bin with the foot pedal. Putrid air seeped out and filled the ascender with its vile perfume. "I love seeing the look of horror on the doctors' faces when they smell who last used the ascender," she confided conspiratorially. I didn't appreciate her stinking up the ascender either, but I'd learned quickly that afternoon to only breathe through my mouth. "Anyway," Ronnie removed her foot from the bin's pedal. "To make up for the difference, less desirable jobs have higher salaries. On the first day of sign-up, all jobs are offered at minimum wage. Every couple hours, the salaries of the unclaimed jobs rise by 2 or 3%. Once you see a job you can stand at a salary you can afford, you sign up." "So why doesn't everyone wait to sign up until all the salaries are high?" I asked as we arrived at the basement level. "That's where the crapshoot comes in." Ronnie heaved the cart out of the ascender. "The sign-up period lasts a different amount of time every rotation. Sometimes it's 2 days, sometimes it's 6. It all depends on the current economy and labor market. If you don't pick a job before the end of the enrollment period, you're randomly assigned to one of the remaining undesirable jobs. And at minimum wage, too. Most people think it's not worth the risk." I followed Ronnie and her cart down a long, blank concrete hallway. Fluorescent lights flickered on the low ceiling. "There are some fun, low-skill jobs like ice cream taster and water slide tester," Ronnie said, continuing her lecture. "But those are always snapped up by people who don't really need money. You know, like trust fund newbies and retired white-collar workers." I didn't know what either of those things meant, and I didn't care enough to ask. "But you always wait for the nasty, well-paid jobs," I surmised. "Not always. Every few cycles I take a break and sign up for a cushy, low-paid job like bed tester or Pandomsky cuddler. But I like the money from the dirty jobs. An old friend of mine helps manage the job sign-ups. As long as I buy him drinks from time to time, he makes sure I'm assigned the highest-paying job of each rotation." "So if I want to buy an apartment as nice as yours one day, I'll have to spend my life doing gross jobs no one else is willing to do?" I frowned. "Or you could go to trade school. Ronnie shrugged. But you'll be assigned a guidance counselor next week to walk you through your options. Honestly, though, body fluid maintenance isn't even that bad. A wry smile crossed her lips. Be glad you didn't get here the rotation I was collecting roadkill, or the one where I had to sniff armpits to test the effectiveness of different deodorant brands. Pro tip, never trust a job that has research in its title. The cart rattled as one wheel caught on a crack in the concrete. The biohazard lid bounced open and released another waft of fetid air. I thought body odor would be preferable to feces, but then again, I'd never smelled another person's armpit. We pushed our cart past a few cage-like storage lockers full of surgical supplies. Man, this basement would be creepy to walk through alone. But hey, if some would-be attacker tried to ambush us, we had some seriously revolting ammunition at our disposal. At last, we came to a large metal door with a biohazard sign painted on it. Ronnie pressed open the lockpad, and I helped her pull the cart over the threshold. The room wasn't much larger than my bedroom, and, like the hallway, had walls of blank concrete slabs. Most of the floor was covered in a thick metal grate. I couldn't see what lay beneath the grate, but from the noxious smell and the burble of running water, I guessed it was an open sewer. Here. Ronnie rummaged in her pocket and pulled out 2 black plastic clips. Nose plugs, she explained, handing me one. You had these the whole time? I snatched the plug and clamped it over my long-suffering nose. Think how much more you appreciate it now than you would have 20 minutes ago, she said cheekily. And we're about to start the really stinky part. After pulling on thick rubber gloves, I helped Ronnie lift the biohazardous waste bin off the cart and onto the metal grate. Warm, moist air rose from the blackness below. I was grateful we'd changed into stain-resistant coveralls before starting work, because I doubted the sewer stench would ever wash out. Ronnie showed me how to remove the bottom of the bin so its malodorous contents could seep freely through the grate. Then she grabbed a power hose from the wall. You might want to stand back, she advised. She stuck the hose in the bin with the bedpans and turned it on. Sludgy backwash splattered across the grate before sinking into the sewer. Once the water ran clear, Ronnie shut off the hose and turned back to me. Okay, I'm gonna wash out the pans individually, and then you can put them on the conveyor belt for sanitization. Before I could ask, she pointed to a microwave-sized hole cut into the far wall. That's the conveyor belt. Go press the big red button. Will it explode? I joked. Straight-up incineration seemed like a good option to deal with used bedpans. I approached the square hole, which revealed a tunnel with a slatted steel conveyor belt built into its floor. I pressed the red button. The belt hummed to life, and the tunnel filled with an eerie blue glow. Ultraviolet germicidal irradiation, Ronnie said, nodding to the blue light. Don't ask me how it works because I have no idea. I just like saying germicidal. She pulled out the first bedpan from the bin and rinsed out any remaining muck. Then she handed the metal pan to me to place onto the belt. I watched it slowly disappear down the blue-lit tunnel. So now you know the noble profession of body fluid maintenance, Ronnie said, handing me the next bedpan. We handle spills and surgery suites too, but I'll teach you that tomorrow. And remember, she said with a smile, if any of the nurses give you sass about being the pooper scooper, you can remind them you're making more in the next 4 months than they'll make in 2 years. I guess that sounded good. I didn't have a solid concept of money yet, but it seemed like the more of it you had, the nicer you were treated. Enjoy the experience, Emily. Ronnie clapped me on the shoulder with her dripping glove. This is probably the only low-skilled job you'll ever have. With your penchant for reading and your insatiable curiosity, I'll be very surprised if you're not recommended for trade school. With vocabulary like penchant and insatiable, I'm surprised you didn't go to school, I replied, wrinkling my nose at my newly damp shoulder. Ronnie was silent for a moment as she rinsed out another bedpan. I did, actually, she said quietly. Go to trade school, I mean. But I had to drop out. I accepted the dripping bedpan, waiting for her to elaborate. She didn't. For the first time in my life, I had the tact not to press.